Hello guys, in this video let's talk about the hook called useMemo. So useMemo is pretty much like any other hook. It's a function. Basically use useMemo when you want to optimize some of the stuff while re-rendering the component. So what does that mean? So let's say you have some expensive computation in your component and you would like to do that only if the variables involved in that computation, if those variables changes, then only you would love to do that computation. So what happens is, let's say that if the variables are not changing, then there is no need to do any of that computation in your component, right? So how could we avoid that? That's where we use useMemo. useMemo will make sure it'll check those variables, whatever we define that expensive computation depends on, and if those variables doesn't change, those variables can come as props. If they don't change, then it avoids doing that computation. It just uses the same value that was the result of the previous computation, right? So let's demo that example. So let's import useMemo here. Then for the purpose of the concept, let's define some variable here, const a equal to 10, right? Assume that that value is coming from props, and let's say we're getting some value here. Let's say value equal to then useMemo. It's a function. It takes function as an argument, and then the second argument, it takes the array, the variables that you would like it to check on, right? For example, if you are returning from this function, let's say a into 10, which is our computation, expensive computation, right? So what we're doing here, we're doing this expensive computation, and in the array, what do we define? We say what variable that computation depends on. So we are saying a is the variable, and we're telling useMemo that anytime when the component is rendering, make sure that if value doesn't change, the value of a doesn't change, then don't do this computation again and again. You can skip that. So that's what useMemo is doing. So we can verify that. For example, let's say console here using memo, right? Because we defined this, hard-coded this value a, and that value will never change. So as per the theory, this computation should happen only once at the time of first rendering, and after that, if you keep doing this some functionality here, then this component will still re-render, but it will skip this computation. Okay, so let's verify that. So here, okay, let's refresh this page and see it is rendering for the first time, and app has loaded, right? Then let's increment this value, right? See, there is no useMemo being called. Every time we call the increment, so what's happening? We are executing all this code, use reducer, getting the new state, and then it comes here and it checks the value doesn't change, then this doesn't return anything, and then this value would be 100, right? And there's no change in this functionality here in the component. But let's say if we are doing something with the value, the state value, and we are updating that value, let's say, then this useMemo will compute every time. So we can prove that here. So let's say you are taking the value state dot counter, which is what we're getting from reducer, and we want this to be depending on this value change, right? So it's called once, and then put that. As per the theory, if we click on increment, it's gonna increase the value of the counter. Currently the counter value is 3. It's gonna increase the value. Since the value changed, then useMemo should execute, right? See, look, useMemo is getting executed because the state counter is changing every time we do this decrement or increment, right? So that is the whole concept of useMemo. It's pretty simple. Just to avoid any expensive computations in your component, use useMemo. Okay, so let's catch up in our next video. We'll talk about use ref. Okay, see you there.